You can't run through this game by yourself like a vigilante. I'm not Batman, you know? I'm Caleb.
We really should stop this fighting. Otherwise, we'll miss the fireworks. There won't be any fireworks. And here we go.
Caleb, you are...
Bravo, Caleb, bravo. The Wentworth idol play of the new era, albeit pure luck, but we're not going to focus on that. 11 votes negated, 11, a new record. Absolutely wild to see the shot in the dark land on the most explosive vote of the season, where all the tribes have come together and who knows what's about to go down. Hey, you know what serves them right? They all dogpiled on you and couldn't even be bothered to cast a single stray just in case that 1 in 6 chance occurred. Talk about gambling. You buy that lottery ticket yet? Oh boy, just retire the shot in the dark at this point. It has peaked. Internet, my name is Pepperaya, and what a fantastic episode of Survivor to culminate the midpoint of this season. Call it a merge, call it the Mergatory, whatever you want to say, just don't call it a bad time. I have been enjoying this season a lot, and there's a lot to sift through, so let's make like the stick bug and start bopping around. First up, we gotta talk about Caleb. The man entered the merge in the Malcolm position, the golden boy all dressed like a Lululemon, and just like Lulu, he managed to attract the votes of everyone in the entire game. Whoops, that wasn't in the playbook. Caleb played a little too fast, too furious. He's down in numbers by a large margin. He really only has Emily in his corner, but he attempted to leverage his former swapped Bello relationships, and clearly a few of them weren't on the same page. He also seemingly was working with the red Rebas, and they're just kind of looking at him like a number to potentially take a shot at the blue Bellos, or maybe just like pick off Jay, another Reba. Except they don't really need Caleb for that, do they? I mean, they did get Emily on their side to vote out Brando. Based on what we saw, Caleb's guardian angel and Emily and his fantastic pre-merge gameplay working alongside Emily came back to save him, as she told him at the last minute that his odds of receiving the votes were shot in the dark levels bad. And I kind of love that that's a descriptor in the Survivor lexicon now. It's not just that you're the target bad, it's shot in the dark levels bad. Like, you have to stoop to relying on Lady Luck to bail your ass out of this one, dude. But you know what? Holy crap, that was a tribal council for the ages. You talk about memorable merged tribals, this is up there. When Sifu looks at Caleb and says, "So who are you saying we should vote out? Who's this big target?" And Caleb just goes in on Jay and the shifting targets commence. It felt so good watching it from the comfort of my own living room. We don't need metaphors and just this political mumbo jumbo hiding true intentions. I get it, it's a game, but like, give it to me raw. It is so much better when people just drop the facade and just break that ice, and it's just so much better when people are playing to win and survive instead of to just not lose. By the way, thanks Drew for the baseball analogy. The still frame of everyone's reactions when Jeff reveals the safe scroll is art. Hang it in the Louvre, that's art right there. The elation of Caleb, Sifu getting out of his seat, D in awe, Austin's mouth hits the floor, and Jay is mortified. And Drew is staring off into the distance wondering if he should have voted for the stick bug. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. How did we get here? Why did we get here? Was Caleb overplaying that much, or were others making mistakes too? Was a unanimous Lulu boot the right call when there's really just 2 tribes on the board and they're both at nearly full strength? Well, the stick bug isn't the only thing that returned from last season to steal the show, because we've also got to talk about Bruce this episode and how he seemingly single-handedly reverted the target back onto Caleb after it switched to Jay for a brief moment. I found the gameplay of this episode so odd because it looks like it should be Reba versus Bello, 6 versus 5, with the 2 swing votes of Emily and Caleb in the middle. They're the Malcolm and Denise of it all. And when Bello is dismantling itself and not on the same page as we saw Bruce and Kendra when Caleb out, meanwhile Katura, Kelly, and Jake are eyeing Jay, you would think that Reba would pounce on the opportunity to blindside Bello and reduce their combined strength. As well as Sifu, who finally cracked the case of the stray Sifu vote and has his sights on Jay too. Sifu is really throwing it back to the good old Lex strategy from Season 3 Africa after the merge. Sifu is a DBZ character who got lost and landed in Fiji, and you can't convince me otherwise. So both of these tribes, full of numbers, are targeting either the players in the middle or themselves, but not each other. It kind of felt a bit like a stalemate, except that in the case of this episode, we just had like no acknowledgement of it happening at all. The focus on Reba was all about their internal strife with Sifu and Jay being on the outs. Meanwhile, Bello has Bruce and Katura not getting along. And now Kelly is rolling her eyes at Bruce too, and Bruce is holding a bona fide idol, which is foreshadowed to blow up someone's game any day now. The clock is ticking. This season is a pressure cooker. This episode was almost like a therapy session for both Reba and Bello. They had to take care of the drama internally before they could start looking anywhere else. The Reba players really felt like Jay wasn't a solid number, which I don't agree with from what I saw. I don't know about you, but she seemed ready to work with all of them. She even took on the false narrative about the Sifu vote. She took one for the team, and all she got was this lousy shot in the dark die as a souvenir. I felt kind of bad for her, and Jay, if you're out there, if you're watching this right now, I'm just happy the younger you was happy to be on the show. So Jay ended up being the backup target, which obviously didn't work out too well for her, but in a roundabout way, it did support Caleb's theory about reducing Dee and Julie's threat level. You lose a perceived ally, you do become less of a threat. And then, if you're Austin, you also get to upgrade your amulet. Like a 2-for-1 at McDonald's, except he didn't get a sandwich, but instead got his target out, and it came with like a coupon for an even better Happy Meal toy in the future. I don't know about you, but I am still waiting for the first reward challenge Austin wins to fulfill his narrative arc. This season cannot end without that happening. By that same token, it also can't end without the Bruce and Katura storyline coming to a head. Because Bruce kind of spiraled a bit this episode when he got paranoid about Bello losing the race to Reba. He saw Caleb doing all the talking and wondered why nobody was talking to him. On one hand, Bruce is perceptive and recognizes a threat when he sees one. On the other, his fellow Bello allies did not seem to appreciate his gameplay much at all. Let alone Caleb, who could have been a number for him in the inevitable Reba-Bello war. Because something important that I think is lost in all this confusion, something that I think needs to be said, is that it was Reba who led the charge to get Jay out, to pick off one of their own. And as roundabout as this sounds, it may actually pay off for them when Jay left in the revote instead of Emily. Reba could have gone and kept Jay in the game and cut Emily there, but they didn't. And because it was Dee, Julie, Drew, and Austin who wanted Jay out over Caleb, and Jay left instead of Caleb, perhaps this means Emily and Caleb are now more in the middle and could flip to the more fractured side of the board. The two of them did have a scene together before the vote and said they prefer to go with Reba as there's more division there, although I do think that core 4 is still pretty strong. Given that the next episode is yet another tribe split with a double vote, it also kind of means a lot of this analysis could just be for nothing. Like analyzing a pre-merge tribe before the swap, if Caleb or Emily get put in a bad spot, a lot of this might not matter because it's another 6-person tribe with nowhere to hide. And to be fair, they did all dogpile in Caleb, and maybe that's just another excuse to vote him out in the next episode. But hey, Caleb. Once upon a time, Kelly Wentworth played that idol and went from 12th to 4th. So, anything's possible with a little bit of luck on your side. Ultimately, I could talk about this forever and ever, but that is really where I'm at. That's the crux of all of this after this fantastically wild merge episode that got me to react to a degree the likes of which I haven't seen since Wentworth. Will not count. But let me know what you thought about this episode and how you're feeling about this season thus far. We're at the merge. Who's your winner pick? I'm still sticking by my true contenders, although it feels like it could be anyone's game. A big thank you to my patrons for bopping to the beat of the stick bug with me over on Patreon. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to cast a rogue backup vote for your secondary target on your way out. Seriously, you might regret it. And I will see you in the next one. Once I remind Austin that revenge is a dish best served cold, not boiling at the top of a hill in the Fijian sun.
People at home would call me a pretty lucky guy.
I'm Kelly Wentworth, and I just idoled Andrew Savage out of Survivor Second Chance. Thank you.
And tonight, they are absolutely correct.
I think this is going to be extremely unpopular, but I think Shot in the Dark, I would love to see a season where Shot in the Dark had better odds.